when the rest of heaven was blue. They all end alone, as you will. You will.
In the bay cherry bushes, wild of leaf.
Well, every year, judge of all the schools participates the most, but we look for poems to recite, every student in judge. And for me, that process is a little more intense. I actually look through all, I think, 86 pages of poetry. I don't read every single poem. I read the first 3 lines of every poem, and I read about half of those. And then when I've narrowed my list down to about 10, then I start reciting them out loud, getting a feel for what I think will be a good poem. And when I find that one poem, I stick with that, and I have to keep the list just in case I start moving on and need to find more poems. And so then I memorize that poem usually within about an hour. Those poems are pretty short, and so I just lock myself inside my room and just constantly recite over and over and over again until it just becomes second nature. Then I step up and perform the poem.
Doctor, you say there are no halos around the streetlights in Paris, and what I see is an aberration caused by old age, an affliction. I tell you, it has taken me all my life to arrive at the vision of gas lamps as angels, to soften and blur and finally banish the edges you regret I don't see. To learn that the line I call the horizon does not exist, and sky and water, so long apart, are the same state of being. 54 years before I could see, Rouen Cathedral is built of parallel shafts of sun, and now you want to restore my youthful errors. Fixed notions of top and bottom, the illusion of 3-dimensional space, wisteria separate from the bridge it covers. What can I say to convince you the Houses of Parliament dissolve night after night to become the fluid dream of the Thames? I will not return to a universe of objects that don't know each other, as if islands were not the lost children of one great continent. The world is flux, and light becomes what it touches, becomes water, lilies on water, above and below water, becomes lilac and mauve and yellow and white and cerulean lamps, small fists passing sunlight so quickly to one another that it would take long streaming hair inside my brush to catch it. To paint the speed of light are weighted shapes, these verticals, burn to mix with air and change our bones, skin, clothes to gases. Doctor, if only you could see how heaven pulls earth into its arms, and how infinitely the heart expands to claim this world, blue vapor without end.
Poetry is really interesting. It's really interesting. I find it one of the coolest art forms, I think, because it takes something so simple as a language and it puts it into focus for an audience. It allows for so many different kinds of things to be relayed through a bunch of words. When you put a bunch of people in a room and you have them listen for a couple minutes to one person talk, because that's all poetry really is. Poetry is just talking the right way. It's just talking so that the audience feels something through it. It's talking so that they feel what you or the original author meant for you to feel. So I find that poetry really It's a way for you to convey simple emotions in many ways through words, and just words. And that's the amazing part of poetry, is that you have no gimmicks to hide behind. There's nothing else. There's no masks. There's no music. There's no microphones. There's no makeup. There's no costumes. There's nothing. It's just you're performing, and you're speaking. You're talking. And you have to command this audience just by talking. That's what poetry is. It's really cool.
How do you think you'll do this year?
Oh, just fine. Just fine. I think Hannah Sandwich is gonna beat me out though. I don't think I can hold up to Hannah Sandwich, so we'll see. Nick Markham though, I'll beat easily.
I know my easiest competitor is Connor McCoy. He's not very good. It's just he's not my competitor because he knows that he has no chance of like actually competing. So it's nice that they're giving him a chance to feel like he's part of the judge community. And
Poetry Out Loud, I think, is a wonderful opportunity to allow young students to explore a really amazing art form. And I think it should be necessary in many students' lives, because it allows an escape from normal life. Poetry Out Loud, every student has to choose a poem from this website, and they have multiple poems from this website. And you're bound to find one that you can connect to. And that's something that we don't do much in school. We're not able to connect to things in school. School is just a place you go to that you learn new things and you try to apply them to your life somehow. You're never really told how to apply them. But when Poetry Out Loud comes along, you're able to connect to one poem, any poem that you like, and you get to show your peers, your other students, how that poem connects to you. And we seldom do that in school anymore. We seldom really show our emotions. And that's a very critical part of growing up, is being able to experience new and different things with our friends, with our classmates. And Poetry Out Loud allows us to delve into that world of exploration and connection.
You, who I don't know. I don't know how to talk to you. What is it like for you there? Here, well, wanting solitude and talk, friendship, the uses of solitude, to imagine, to hear, learning Braille, to imagine other solitudes, but they will not be mine, to wait in the quiet, not to scatter the voices. What are you afraid of? What will happen? All this leaving and meetings, yes, but death. What happens when you die? Not to scatter the voices, drown out, not make a house out of my own words, to be quiet in another throat, other eyes, listen for what it is like in there. What word? What silence? Allowing, uncertain, to drift in the restlessness, repose, to run like water. What is it like for you there, right now? Listen. The crowding of the street, the room. Everyone hunches in against the crowding, holding their breath. against dread. What do you dread? What happens when you die? What do you dread in this room now? Not listening, not watching, safe inside my own skin, to die not having listened, not having asked. To have scattered life. Yes, I know. The thread you have to keep finding over again, to follow it back to life. I know. Impossible sometimes.
Last year I had made it to regions, and I was excited about that. And then I ended up not making it, not even placing in regions, and just feeling, especially because the person who'd won had recited a poem that I felt was super easy, and I held a little bit of animosity over that, but I just kind of kept a chip on my shoulder for a whole year. I was like, I'm going to avenge this loss. And so then when I got to regions again, this year I was a little less competitive. It's my senior year. It's not that important of a competition. So everything up to this point has just been a reward. And I'm just honored to be going into state and getting that opportunity. And I mean, I'm a competitive guy, so I'll definitely be fighting to win state. That would be an incredible opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. and compete nationally. But whatever happens, I'm looking forward to March 12th when I get to recite 3 poems to the audience, and I love that experience. So.